Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling, and man, thanks a lot for checking today's video out. Really appreciate that. Guys, today we're going to have a conversation about, I think, one of the most common, it's a common consideration for most anglers in fishing, and I don't think a lot of anglers really know the answer, the correct answer, what it is. And we're going to be talking about when you want to use like a shad pattern or some type of a brighter chartreuse pattern, because a lot of times it's more complicated than what you think. A lot of people say, well, I want to use a bright chartreuse one if the water's dirty, and if it's cleaner, I'll use a shad. That's not the way it works, guys. There's a lot of other variables to it. So we're going to get into that, and I think you guys might find it interesting. So first of all, guys, I want to thank everybody that's been checking out our Fish the Moment lake map breakdowns. You know, we have our summer breakdowns up on the website right now. If you guys are interested in checking it out, I'll put the Fish the Moment lake map breakdown link in the description. It's a great way if you're struggling to catch fish on some of your favorite lakes. It's a great way to help out. Much appreciated there. Okay, guys, let's talk about this a little bit. Now, like I said, common knowledge in bass fishing is use bright and dirty water, you know, shad pattern and clear water. There's a lot of different, you know, ins and outs to that, so I want to get into that. First of all, I want to gear this pretty much to the summer months, since that's what we're in right now, because the water temperature as far as different times of the year also plays a role in this, and we'll do videos at some other point in that. But specifically, I want to talk about when to choose the shad over the chartreuse in the summer months. By the way, guys, these are the new Megabass 4.0 crankbaits, the big giant honkers here. This will get you a big bite. If you guys are interested in these, I'll put the Baitworks link in the description. They got a really good selection of them. Really good for ledge fishing, shallow fishing, whatever. It's just probably the best big bass crankbait out on the market. So I'll put that link in the description if you guys want to use that. Okay, guys, let's talk about the bright ones first, the chartreuse ones. Now, first of all, when you're talking about using a chartreuse sided plug like this, or a perch pattern, something brighter, the thing that one of the most foundational elements to remember is that when you start fishing early in the morning or whenever, or if you pull up on an area where the fish haven't seen any baits, a bright crankbait like this is going to get you the biggest fish in the area right off the bat. Because when you're using a bright crankbait that's got the chartreuses and oranges on it, it's an aggressive color, and most of the time those bigger fish are the aggressive fish. And I'm not talking about the giants because they're super smart, but when I'm talking about bigger fish, I'm talking about like the 3 to 4 to 5 pound class fish. They're the apex predator in that area, and if there's something that comes through their area that's big and bright and aggressive, a lot of times they bite it right off the bat, especially during low light conditions. This is also especially important if you're fishing school fish. Say, for example, you've found a school of, you know, 10 bass on the end of the point end, something like that. You always want to go in there with the bright crankbait right off the bat. You know, at least get your first 20 casts in there with a bright crankbait. It's going to get you the biggest fish. It's going to get the school fired up. It may not last very long because they get keyed into it real quick. Then you may have to go to a shad pattern, but right off the bat, always stay with the chartreuse. It's going to get you a good bite. And I don't care. It doesn't matter if the water clarity is 6 inches or 6 feet. I always start off with the bright one right off the bat. Now, when you're talking about light levels, this is another thing. There's light levels and water clarity involvements too. When you're talking about light levels, that's another thing about the chartreuse bright one. They always work better in lower light levels. Again, the water clarity second to that. If you have say you're fishing a lake that's got 3 or 4 foot clarity, which is normally a little bit too clean for the chartreuse side. If you got one of those days like we have right now, it's cloudy out, the wind's blowing like 15 miles an hour, that's another time to try it. You know, low light conditions, early and late in the morning, clouds, rain, especially on a rainy day, it's going to be the choice that you want to make on that. It's going to has a big impact with it. And lastly, as far as the summertime fishing, when you're speed cranking a crankbait, say for example, you're in some really dirty water, like water visibility that's 12 inches of visibility, and you got some stumps and laydowns and that type of stuff, and the water's hot, say it's like August, early September, water's at the maximum temperature, it's in the 80s, speed cranking a bright crankbait like this, like burning it, stop and go real fast, is going to get you a big bite too, because it's a combination of the visual aggression and the reaction strike of the speed. So that's the times that I really like the chartreuse. Now the shad, I think one of the biggest misconceptions of a shad pattern is the fact that it's just designed for cleaner water. That's not the case, guys. I have caught a ton of good fish in the summertime on a shad pattern crankbait in dirty water. So what you want to remember on this is if you've got here's my favorite shad time to use a shad pattern crankbait. If you've got very hot water, like super hot water temperatures in the 80s like that, and you've got shallow rock and you've got dirty water, say you have water visibility of 8 inches, 12 inches. If you have rocky banks and riprap in the summer, you're going to get more bites on a shad pattern, even in that dirty water, than you will a fire tiger. Especially if you don't have wind. If you got one of those calm days where it's bright, shad will always get you more bites. Now, when you're talking about shad, there's a lot of variations. This right here is more of a translucent. This is the Megabass Sexy Shad, MSS. But when you're talking about shad patterns, you got some that are translucent, like you can see my finger there, and then you have others that have a flat finish, a matte finish on it. So if you're fishing that dirty hot water, use the matte finish, because you do want a little bit more of a flat finish, because that does stand out a little bit more in that dirty water than a translucent. So I'll go with a flat shad, maybe some type of a pearl side, something like that, more of just a flat side, or a metallic or flat side in that dirty water. Now as the water gets cleaner, say for example you're in that same scenario with that water visibility is knocking on 2 foot, 2.5 foot, then that's when I may go to the translucent shad side like that, which works really good. Now another thing with shad patterns is I have found in the summer months, when you're cranking shallow and you're cranking wood or rock, actually, like that a lot of times, that you're going to catch more fish as far as the numbers of fish on a shad pattern than you will over a chartreuse one. The chartreuse will catch the bigger ones, but the shad will definitely get you a lot more numbers with that. So I think one of the biggest considerations in a shad pattern is there's so many different variations we talked about. You've got a lot of different shad patterns with different accent colors on it. You've got some that are just almost see-through all the way. You've got different back colors like green backs, black backs, blue backs. So there's a lot of variation within the shad pattern itself. And one of the keys to using a shad pattern in the summertime is you have to pick out that variation that does two things in that water. It's got to stand out just slightly, and it's got to also blend in. When you're talking about using the chartreuse side, you're talking about wanting to stand out all the time in a big way. You're not talking about wanting to blend it in, because you're talking about keying on that aggression. But a shad pattern, it's more of a subtle bait, so you want to have this bait that when you reel it down to the water, you can see it just stands out just a little bit, but at the same time not too much. It's a fine line that you sort of have to learn over the years, and you do that by adjusting the accent colors on the back and the belly and the sides. And that probably the only way that I can really show you what I'm talking about is you just have to fish with me. But that's the best way I can describe it, is you want it you want it to stand out a little bit, you want it to blend in just a little bit, sort of a mix of those two. So anyway, guys, these are my two favorite colors, in the summertime. Some type of a shad, some type of a chartreuse. There's some myths that stand behind it, but that's just some things that will work for me. So anyway, guys, again, try it out. If you guys haven't tried this Megabass 4.0, this Big Mama here, I'll put it, like I said, Baitworks link in the description. You can get you a few and try them out. It'll catch you some good hogs. So talk later. See you.